something miraculous happened. Shouldn't be hard to figure out what it is. You guys happened. You guys came out of nowhere. Where had you been? You came out of left field, or should I say right field? Okay. You came out of nowhere, folks, and you blogged, and you marched, and you emailed, and you agitated, and you rallied, and you phone banked, and you put some spine into the GOP, and you took back the House in 2010. And that brought the agenda of the left to a grinding, screeching halt. They had it in the bag, folks. They had it all lined up, all ready to go, and who was going to stop them? John Boehner? Who was going to stop him? But you guys came out of nowhere, a bunch of amateurs and novices, snuck up on them and took their toys away. And some of you wonder why they hate you. Why they call you dirty names and stuff. Why do you think they hate you? Because they had this country in the bag and you come in and saved it. And you did save it, folks. Because you imagine, had you not done what you did, the whole agenda would be in now. Those 8 million illegals would be voting in this election. Obamacare would be locked in. Cap and trade, card check, the whole agenda would already be in place. And where would you go then, folks? What would you do? I see a movement. You get all discouraged, it's hard work, you get betrayed, you get let down. I see a movement that doesn't know what it's done, folks. Because you look at it objectively from an outside view. And that's my only value to you, because you can see your neighbour's problems and situation better than he can see his, right? I see what you did, folks. You stopped their agenda. You saved your country. Any argument with that? Does that deserve a huge self-pat on the back from time to time? But you did even more than that, people, because you kick-started the Second American Revolution. You and people like Glenn Beck. Because there are now millions of people in this country. There are now millions of people in this country who understand the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, the separation of powers, states' rights, all the things that make America different. I have been to rallies in the bluest of the blue states. I've had 500 or 600 people up in Michigan, 500 people in Massachusetts. You get out of the big cities, folks, there are millions of people like you all over this country. There's never been more people like you who understand the issues that face this country than there have been since the revolution. That's huge, people. That's huge. And you've fought back Common Core and Agenda 21. You've taken over school boards and county commissions. You've got into the Republican Party. And one of the most important things you've done is put some spine into state legislatures all over this country. And now they can give the finger to the federal government. Is that important, folks? Yeah. It's real important. Why do you think Obama wants to go to executive orders now? Because you guys have stopped him every step of the way. You guys, not the GOP, you guys. So, I'm going to do something now that's normally considered bad manners, but I'm a colonial and we don't stand on ceremony, right? You know, because it's not kosher, right, to come into someone else's country and tell them how to do things. It's like going to your neighbour and telling them how to do their decor, isn't it? It's pretty rude, really. But suck it up, people. Look, because I get asked all the time, what do we do? Because I see a movement, you've done 5 years of hard work. You get burnt out, you get disappointed, you see a lot more of your defeats than you understand your victories. It's a discouraging, hard job. I don't doubt that for a minute. And where do you go now? What do we do? Are we making a difference? Should we persevere? All those questions plaguing people all the time. But this is is how I see things. You've got a long road to change this country. 100 years of progressivism doesn't get undone overnight. You've got a road ahead of you. But you've got two huge battles. One this year and one in 2016. And if you lose that 2016 one, folks, the Dems are going to have 8 million illegals to vote on their side. And what you do after that time may not make much difference at all. So these are important, decisive battles. Now I get people say to me, you've got three choices basically. You can form a third party and you can fly the flag and stand up for your principles and lose. And your children live in slavery. You can concentrate on local issues alone, which are important, but if you take the eye off the big picture, your children live in slavery. Or you can get out of politics and hunt more deer and more pheasants and play more bridge or more golf and have a great time, but your children live in slavery. There is only one political force that can stop the Dems in 2014 and 2016 and give your country breathing space and a chance. And that is, whether you like it or not, the Republican Party. But the real question is this: what is going to be the character of that Republican Party? Because if the old guard have their way and they give you a Chris Christie or a Jeb Bush or someone of that calibre, you're going to lose people. And even if you fluke a win by some miracle, you still lose. Because progressivism just rolls on. But if you had a leader, maybe someone of the calibre like Ted Cruz, things could be very different, right? Now I'm going to go back to 1976, before most of you were born. Okay? Because this is illustrative, because I think this parallels what's happening now. 1976, you'd been losing freedom, Republican, Democrat, Republican, Democrat, Republican, Democrat for decades. Government was getting bigger and your rights were getting smaller. That year, a man came out of California with a different vision. He talked about the shining city on the hill, American exceptionalism, the Constitution, standing up for liberty, restoring the economy, all the things you talk about, folks. Ronald Reagan stood for the 1976 Republican nomination, and hundreds of thousands of people rallied to the cause. They loved his message. They loved it. And they pushed him forward to get that nomination. And what did the Republican old guard, the Rockefeller Republicans, do, folks? They ambushed him, they sabotaged him, they slandered him, they denigrated him, they forbade him from speaking in Ohio, in this state. No matter how many Reagan dinners they might hold today, folks, they hated Ronald Reagan's guts. That is the truth. Any of that sound familiar to you people? And he just missed out on that nomination. They gave it to Gerald Ford. Gerald Ford went up against Jimmy Carter, and Carter won. And how did those Carter years work out for you guys? Interest rates up to here, gas queues around the corner, Panama, Iran. You're still suffering from it today, people. Still suffering from it. Now I'm just going to digress a little bit here too, because there's another little point. I'm often told by people, even in the GOP, they say, the Tea Party, or in the GOP, they say, you've got to get the young people motivated and on board with the campaigns. We've got to get the young people involved. They're just not getting involved enough. And I say, well, how do you do that? Well, we need younger candidates, and they've got to be nice here, and they've got to look well and talk well, and they've got to have some liberal values, because that's what the young people want, right? Look, I wear my Ronald Reagan badge at airports. I've had 16-year-old goth girls with wacky-looking haircuts come up to me and look at that badge and say, wasn't he great? How do you think I'd get on with a Gerald Ford badge? You look at that man out of Texas, Ron Paul. Where's his fan base, folks? The young people love him like a chocolate, don't they? The universities are full of them. He's young and hip and cool and liberal and charismatic, right? He's a grumpy old bugger. You know? He is. But he stands up. He doesn't back down. He's principled. He's consistent. I don't agree with all his stance, but I've got to give him credit for that. He's a straight-up, hardcore guy who fights for the underdog. What are young people like, folks? What was Ronald Reagan like? Leadership, principle, consistency, idealism, standing up for things. That's what young people want, folks. That's why they go to the left, because the left has all this idealism and principle. It's all based on garbage, but they sell it that way. Our side talks about GNP figures and increasing the gross national product and figures, and that's supposed to inspire people, right? Ronald Reagan didn't talk about that. He talked about the shining city on the hill. That's what he talked about. So that right now, folks, this country is Carter on steroids. And to turn it around, we need Reagan on steroids. Not just to do what Ronald Reagan did, because you know what he did for your country, folks. He restored your economy. He took out the Soviets. He got you working again, lowered your taxes, gave you pride in your country. Did he not? Was there a better president in that century? No. He did so much, folks, but he couldn't do all he needed to do. You need to go beyond that. You need to restore your constitution and gut your federal government. That's what you need to do. Now, if I was a man like Ted Cruz, this is what I would be doing. Because to win that next election, folks, you need every element of that old Reagan coalition. You need those 1% of libertarian kids who voted for Gary Johnson last time. You need the social conservatives and the defence conservatives and the fiscal conservatives and the moderates. You need the 2 million Republicans who stayed home last time. And I'll tell you who else you need, and who always get ignored. You need the 4 to 6 million evangelical Christians who don't vote. You need every one of them, folks. Because you're going to have vote fraud, you're going to have the media against you, dirty tricks, the unions. You need everyone you can on your side to have a hope of winning. But how do you unify such a diverse base? Because some of these groups hate each other, people. They won't work with each other. But they all want something. Some people are motivated by education, some by national defence, some by fiscal policy, some by business, some by energy. Everybody's got a hobby horse, right? All these groups want something. So if I was Ted Cruz, this is what I would do. I'd go out early to build this coalition. I'd stand up now. I'd go to all of these groups and I'd say, the first thing I'm doing, people, I'm going to put Alan West on my VP ticket. Yeah. Now. Then I'd go to the Libertarians. I'd say, if you vote for me this time, guys, Rand Paul is going to be Secretary of the Treasury, and he can do what he damn well likes. He can do what he damn well likes to the Federal Reserve and the IRS, carte blanche. Okay? Then I'll go to the energy voters and say, you guys vote for me this time, Sarah Palin, Secretary of Energy, drill baby drill, drill in the backyard. Open it up. The Defence Conservatives, John Bolton, Secretary of State. You tell him, John, get the tailheads anytime you want.
Why doesn't he do that?
Just a minute. Ambassador to the United Nations. Nobody. Go further, folks. Scott Walker, Secretary of Labour. Right to work all over, people. Yeah. Dr. Ben Carson, Secretary of Health and Human Services. Mark Levin, Attorney General. Yeah. Go through the list. And for those Christians who care so much not for politics, but they love the education of their children, don't want Common Core, I'd go to them and say, you vote for me, guys. Dr. David Barton will be Secretary of Education and Common Core's gone. Homeschooling totally protected. Would you get inspired by a team like that, people? Would you get out of bed every day and knock on doors and phone bank to get those people into positions of authority? Would that unify the base? Because everybody gets something, right? Everybody. And is it possible? Can it be done? You have never had a bigger base than you have today of people who understand the issues. You've got a whole raft of leaders out there who know what has to be done to turn around this country and are champing at the bit to get a chance to do it. Put the base with the leadership, folks. You're unstoppable. What would the media do about that, folks? What would the left do about that? Look, you put all your eggs in one basket right now. Mitt Romney got tarred with Bain Capital, destroyed his campaign. Have a whole team, folks, of pit bulls who don't take any crap from anyone. One of them screws up. The boss says, you're gone, I replace you. Strong executive decision, turn a negative into a positive. Think about it, people. Everybody wants something. Give everybody a slice of the pie and they will work day and night. Day and night. They might not like the others in the team, but they like their man or woman. You think it's feasible, folks? Yeah. So what I'm